So today we're talking about Vanguard boxes. What we're looking at is a position that you're starting an army. 99% of the time, you go to the Vanguard box first. It has a bunch of models in it. They're at a steep discount, and it's a good starting place. So what we're going to look at is five of those armies. We looked at eight last week, five today, and we're going to talk about what's in the box, what's good in the box, what's maybe not so good in the box, and then we're about what you go out and do with it, basically. So, Paul, would you like to talk to us about our last one we're looking at today?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are going to be looking at the Mawtribes box. This one sets you back at £85 and is currently set at two possible point prices of either 850 or 920, depending on how you build a certain unit. In this box, though, you get a Tyrant. You then get the option of either building an Iron Blaster or Scrap Launcher. There's one right answer there. There you get two Mornfang Raiders, four Lead Belchers, and six Gluttons, and then some four Nobblers. Not that you can actually do very much for them, but they're there in the box set. So this box set certainly offers a couple of options and a couple of directions. But Michael, do you want to take us through these at all?
Yeah. So this is probably when it comes to points, I think is the highest value points you'll get out of a box. 920 is legitimate. Well, it's half your army, and you've got 160 points left over at the end of it to pick up whatever you want. We put the four Nobblers on there, but they're decorative here. Your base Nobbler unit is 10, I think. Maybe
It's
even
20.
20.
I think it's 20. Yeah.
Yeah. So you don't buy this for Nobblers, please, please. I know what games what sort of things we're like, but please don't buy this to get your 20 Nobblers. As you say, like there's a couple of these are good units, and there's one decision which is not a decision. It's with the Iron Blaster. So first one is a Tyrant. Unmodified hits a 6 by this guy does D6 damage. So that's how we're starting this box. This guy can just do you. With that's the Beast Skewer. With the Thunder Mace, it does one mortal wound. And if the target has 4 more models, it's D3. So again, that's all in addition. So a lot of output here. With friendly ogre fails battle shock, you only lose 1. We see this in a couple of destruction armies. Poor boys have got this as well, just to limit battle shock. They're low bravery in general. I think. And let me just double check. The Gluttons are 6 bravery, so you lose 1. You have potential to lose more on battle shock quite quickly, and if you're got -5 from someone who's bought whatever that thing was earlier, there's issues there. It also can pick a big name, which is a range of different buffs that come with it. The Gluttons are your battle line people. If the unit is armed with Iron Fists, on modified saves of 6, cause 1 mortal wound back. That cannot be understated. That is very, very good. The issue with them is that their base save is 5. Now, again, when me and you play the Blood Warriors for Corn have this, but their base up saves are 3. Doing mortal wounds back is great, but if you're rolling and hoping for 6s with a bravery 6 unit where there's 6 models, 4 wounds each, it's probably not going to be a game changer, but it's a nice way of giving something before they go. And it may call into question whatever player decides to do. Do they all of a sudden put in that unit which has 70 attacks into your Gluttons? Because they may well kill them all, but you might roll a lot of 6s as well, which are going to do a lot of damage. So again, where you're playing the opponent, not playing the army, that's just something to consider whether you want to take these or not. The Mornfang pack has the same rule. They do subtract 1 from wound rolls if an enemy unit releases health. So basically, it's plus subtract 1 from hit and wound if you charge. Oh no, sorry, subtract 1 from wound, and they can only hit on 6s, which is the 40k rule. So basically, those base unit 2 pigs are pretty safe charging. I say pretty safe because I will tell you now, the only time you roll 6s in a game, the C6s roll is when you charge them, and half of the 6s will come out your opponent's hand, and you'll pick up your picks. So that's the first part of it. Lead belchers are missile weapons and very, very good missile weapons. I've got their profile in front of me. So D3 attacks each, 4s and 3s -1. But if they don't move, it's 2d3. So again, this is a weight of dice unit. You're throwing lots, and it is rend 1. Nowadays, I think rend 1 is pretty much the base rend. If you haven't got rend, you've got a weak weapon as it moves that way. A range of 18 as well. So if you do walk forward, if you give someone else a charge, there's a lot of utility there to help it. The Iron Blaster is where it is. The Iron Blaster is the only thing you should be building from this list. 2 attacks, 4s, 2s, -2, D3 +3 damage. So it can really, really hurt you. And there's ways of buffing that up as well. I'm sure I'm trying to think now.
You can go through one of the sub-factions. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's it. And you get to pick 2. So 30 ranges is two attacks, 4s, 2s, -2, D3 +3. If you're within 12 ranges, it's 10 attacks, 3s, -1, 2. Again, you're buffing off with a faction. That is a crazy amount of shots you can get. Most lists, when the book came out, and there is another sub-faction we're talking about, that were doing very well on the tournament scene, were taking 3 Iron Blasters. I had to play a 3 Iron Blaster list. It was no fun, even for Slaves of Darkness, who have quite decent saves. Quite decent. They have good saves. It was crazy the amount of damage was getting up. They were stuck behind a line of Noblars. So again, please don't buy for twin Noblars, but they've got a lot of utility as well. So yeah, Iron Blasters were ruling the meta for a long time until people kind of worked out kind of how to deal with that. We'll talk about that sure long about how the meta flow as it was. The scrap launcher is what you can make instead. It's basically attack characteristic is equal to the number of models up to 20, which is great. But it's 4s, 3s, -1, 1. So a lot of dice, maybe not as much impact as an Iron Blaster has. Well, let's be clear, not as much impact as an Iron Blaster has. I don't know, my spelling of these slides is terrible. At the start of the shooting phase, you can pick a Noblar unit wholly within 9 and roll 2d6. If less models, what is this? I'm trying to say, if less than the models, you get add 1 to hit rolls. I am so sorry for that slide. Perfectionism. Yeah, my students love it when I get things wrong on the slide. So yeah, so it's 130 points compared to the Iron Blasters. Oh my god, 200.
Yeah,
it's quite pricey, which is again probably why I've seen them fall out the meta a little bit because prices go up. And I say the meta flow happens, like it's very strong for a while, then people work it out and then you have to react to it, and it kind of drops down a little bit. Box itself, we don't see a great deal of armies that rely on gluttons and lead belchers. It's Iron Blasters, or it is the faction that does not appear in this of the Beast Claw Raiders. I think that's what they're still called.
Yeah, they are.
But they're big guys on a giant horse, and that is probably the more common at tournament play. That's the more common faction you'll see because they're terrifying. Yeah, so I'll leave it there. Any questions about this?
Not questions, but my brother collects ogres. And I've had a lot of opportunities to kind of read through this book and whatnot. Now, just going quickly back to the scrap launcher, admittedly I agree, the Iron Blaster is the way to go, but in this current state that we're in with the GHB and how armies are getting built, there's a lot of chaff out there. And with the scrap launcher, Against chaff, it has capability. The idea that most chaff is on a 5 or 6 up save, that -1 could actually mean they don't get any save. It's 20 dice. Okay, if you're working on the averages, there's only about 6 or 7 wounds going through. But ultimately, though, it has the option. Admittedly, I'll still go for the Iron Blaster. But if you're losing out on points and you're looking for some sort of cheap artillery, something to consider. Gluttons. They do have a place, if you take like the Meat Feast sub-faction, I believe it is, then they do have a place to sit in there. You take a Tyrant, you take a Firebelly and a Butcher, and then you just mass spam Iron Guts, perhaps have some Lead Belchers if you really want to, but if you go Iron Guts and then some Man-Eaters and everything like that, they can hold the board because they just have so many wounds. Each model is 4 wounds apiece. Okay, 5 up save admittedly, but when you have the unit 6 Gluttons, that's 24 wounds in one unit 6, and it's not too hard to reinforcement. So that's 48 wounds in one unit. The other thing about them as well is that they have like almost 2 states. They're either hungry or they're eating. And depending on which state they're in, will then depend if they get an extra bonus to the units. And they can work. I played against them. Admittedly, it was against my Gitz army, which was in a tester stage, and he had a full army of Gluttons. He had 1 Mammoth on the board, and the weight of Gluttons charging in, it mortal wounded me off, because the one thing about the ogres in their entirety is that when they charge, you roll a number of dice equal to the charge roll, and then depending on which unit it is, on a certain dice roll, you actually do mortal wounds to the enemy. Now, with the Gluttons, I believe it's I think it's on either 5 or even perhaps a 6 on the dice roll, you do the mortal wounds. But then if you do take like a Mammoth, that can get down to a 4 on the 4s, you're doing mortal wounds. So that's where the ogres start building the potential of the damage that they can do. And I have to admit, unfortunately, in the last tournament I played against an Iron Guts army, and then I played against a Beast Claw Raider army, one after the other. And they just mortal wounded my army off the board. So Gluttons, ogres are fairly low down in the win rates at the moment, but they can be well played if you have an experienced and confident player behind them. So a set like this, in my opinion, will be great if you're heading towards a Meat Fist or a ground unit. I'll personally avoid the Mornfang at the moment. They're okay. They're mobile, but they don't do too much on the battlefield, in my opinion. But this is a good box if you were looking to start into ogres to go towards like a more heavy troop infantry kind of lineup. That's just my 2 cents on it, really.
My first reaction is that when I was planning this stream, I should have given you the Mawtribes and Ben Sobler. But we're learning. Even as I'm reading for the ogres, I'm like, I played ogres a lot. I still don't understand them. Now we have clarity about what this army is actually about. I'll go to you first, Ben. Have you played ogres before?
No, and throughout all of this, I've been sitting there thinking, I really want to play ogres against my Nighthawk until it happens. Yeah. I was thinking, I got this, and then you finish, Paul, by saying, and then it charges, and then you get mortal wounded off the board. I was like, no. But, I don't know. I don't know enough about them, to be honest. I think it's one of these ones where I'll find out one day, and on paper it kind of makes sense. And what you said about the scrap launcher, I wasn't necessarily too worried by comparison with the Iron Blaster than I was the scrap launcher, because my big crux with the army I played, it's volume of attacks. That always gets me. Anything where it's like, I don't have any rend, but I got 7 attacks each. I'm like, this is going to be over really quick.
Yeah.
But no, I look forward to playing them one day and just be like, I've done that. And it depends on the build, I guess. I think it's like you said, if I'm reading this right, it doesn't seem like a bad introductory box at all. But as with any army which we've discussed, if piloted well, you can make, if you're utilising the strengths effectively, then any army could be good if captained correctly. Yeah. That's I think that's the point I'm trying to get to. But yeah, guess I'll find out.
It's certainly something like with the ogres as well, like you said, Michael, with the idea that they have essentially two set armies. They have the foot troops and then they have what Beast Claw Raiders. And the mammoths still have so much capability in the game at the moment. You can take them alongside, you have 1, 2 maybe alongside the Iron Guts or troops and everything. And when they charge through, they have their own monstrous actions as well. And when they hit, they do hit hard. They have one artifact, an artifact of Mount trait, which essentially, depending on how good the enemy's armor is, actually causes more devastation to that unit. So if you charge them into perhaps like Chaos Knights or something that's on a 2-up save, it actually does more damage as opposed to running into a unit that has a 6-up save. So the actual mammoths themselves, they're not often referred to as monster trucks in the army and everything. They will go and cause even more damage. It's a great army. It's a fun army, more so as well. If you're looking for a destruction army that is there that could deliver the results, but more so is a bit more enjoyable to actually play or be played against. This is certainly one I would suggest, because it's not too arduous on the rules and the maintenance of the rules, but at the same time can potentially bring you victories, bring you the wins. So yeah.
Yeah, I think so. We're giving this one a thumbs up. I would agree. I think it's a simple army to use. Not the one thing I would say I would also consider adding is Nobblers. I think they're very good cheat screens, and they have a rule. If you finish within 3 inches of it on a move, you take D3 mortal wounds.
That's right.
And that's a move, a charge, and a piling. So there's a lot of opportunity to be hurting people. And then an artifact you can give one of the mammoths is Stonehorn's got to use the proper names. It's copyrighted. They're saying they can do. It's like Iron Clamp on Metal Jaws, which does D3
Metal
again.
Cruncher, that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a big mortal wound army. So if you haven't got take Nurgle to this all day, don't take Escaping because it's just going to disappear. And yeah, I took Slayer to Darkness. I had 2 units of reinforced Chosen, reinforced Knights, and I struggled to get through all those, get through all of them. So yeah, I'm really big fan of ogres. I've never met an ogre Mawtribes person that did not enjoy playing. They were a friendly bunch.
Sorry.
You know what? I've met one angry ogre Mawtribes player. Okay. One in my experience. Everyone else has been delight because they get rid of their monster trucks. Well, who would not enjoy them?